There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy, who traveled many miles over land and sea. A little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he. Hey everybody, I'm going to talk a little bit about how I came to know Whiskypaint, my artist. A few years back when I was kind of really thinking about the idea of doing a novel, and I had a lot of pages done, but it was just kind of random this and that, and story fragments and short stories and stuff that was as long as a novelette, but it kind of didn't fit together very well. But I thought, well, I think I can see a great story here. It's just, I haven't built everything, and I would come up with an idea, and I'd do a little story there and a little story here, and throw in this character here and that character here, and then sugar was kind of woven all the way through it. And I have ideas for other novels too. There are more in the idea of a collection of short stories, vignettes that are collected together, and then they have an overall narrative that kind of just that encompasses the whole of a whole with all the small stories fitting in like puzzle pieces. Kind of in the way like a Tarantino film would be. You got just stuff that you can kind of place it in there, and maybe not see the entire picture, but kind of get an overall idea of something undercurrent of, kind of like iceberg theory from Hemingway, that there was more going on there than you were given privy to, but enough that it intrigues you to move on to learn more about the world itself. Anyway, I was looking for art, and I started out with one artist, and he just moved on to other projects, but then I looked at some other people, and everybody's is good. I pick artists the way I like their style and see how they do it. But then I came across some, well, it's really cheesecake, and it's quite, and to some extent a little bit erotic, but not over the top. And so I contacted the guy, and he was on DeviantArt at the time, and he's still there. And I left a note to him, and he came back, and I kind of explained what I wanted, and I showed him a little bit of the art that had been done. And he's like, I kind of like that. I kind of really like that. Now, he doesn't speak English verbally very well, but he's pretty good at communicating through like emails and through the written word, and I think he has some help with that. But he does a pretty good job of communicating with me, and we worked up a rapport, and then I paid him to do a few illustrations for the book. And over time, well, and it developed into a good working relationship. And I pitched him this idea about doing a comic. And at first he was a little hesitant, because he said it's not something I've ever done. And I'm like, well, it's not something I've ever done either. It's totally new to each of us. Maybe we can learn and grow. And I said, but I think your style lends itself to a European look, although he was much more comfortable with the manga style. But what we came to was mixing the two together. So manga and European. Now, a lot of people in our community that would listen to me, possibly, would like the American style, especially from the 90s and 80s and the 70s, how that looks, the American Marvel style / DC, and maybe the Image years thrown in there when they were in their heyday. But I like the kind of painterly style that comes from the European tradition. I think that it's there's a beauty to it, a craftsmanship. And although Whiskypaint uses digital pretty much, that's what he works with, although he has worked in some traditional medias. I think that his stuff looks painterly, and it looks like it's cared about. Now, I do, his page output currently is not a whole lot really fast, and that's fine, because I want every page that we do to look like it's been crafted with this eye for extreme care, for detail, and for the love of the image from word to visual. And he does that so well. And he always throws in these little things that I didn't expect, that I didn't prompt him to do. Some of you might have seen the picture of Sugar where it's kind of an upshot and you can kind of see up her skirt. But there's a Cadillac next to her. And then there's like a mountain rising up behind her, and she's kind of holding her sword down point. And so it's like it's not foreshortening. It is foreshortening, but you see over to the side, you see Sugar half spelled out on the license plate of the Cadillac, and I didn't even think of that, and it was just so cool. And it was one of those things that like said to me, this is the guy. He gets what I'm doing. And the funny thing is, he's Russian. All right, he is from Vladivostok, which is the very end of the Trans-Siberian Highway, right there on the Pacific, just north of North Korea and near China, and it's across from Japan. He's a guy that's nowhere near my world, but when he reads my words, and he just sees it, he feels it, and he makes me excited to do the project because of what he puts into it from what I've put into it. And so I think there's some synergy going on there, and it really, really makes me want to do this project. And when people see his work, they appreciate it. They know it for what it is. And it's different from everybody else's work right now, which I don't want to take anything away from people like Ethan or Mitch or John Malin's work. But I think he stands right with them in his ability to tell a story, and it's not going to be maybe as over the top in the comic book realm, but it's going to punch you in the gut with its narrative. I have things to say, and they're fun, and they're gritty, and they're wild, and they're naughty, nasty, maybe even horrific. And if those things appeal to you, the sexiness of the violence, I think that you're going to really gravitate towards what we're putting together. And that's one of the things that I think has been lost in the current, iteration of this age of comics. There's not the fun that there used to be. I mean, comics used to be fun. You'd read it, and I mean, I was an athlete, in a time which, they always say, comics weren't for athletes. Well, I don't buy that, because I was reading comics. I was playing D&D, but I was also playing football and wrestling and doing rugby and doing track and field, and I was doing other things too. I was singing in the choir. I'm not saying I'm a Renaissance man or anything, but I don't always buy that nerds were like a separate. There might have been some of that somewhere, but not where I lived. But there was fun in comics. Everybody who liked comics, or even liked just the idea of like Superman and Batman and Spider-Man and the Hulk and Captain America, and Wonder Woman and the X-Men, and on and on and on. Wolverine, man. The Punisher. The Punisher crossed into every dude loved the Punisher, and they loved Wolverine. It just without fail, and Batman, because Batman's a badass. Those guys are badasses. That's the type of thing that would cut across, and it was fun. And then when Image came along, man, Image just went balls to the wall with their ideas, and sometimes they threw stuff out there, and it was a little goofy, but other things were just amazing. And one of my favorite characters that came out at that time was Dale Keown's Pitt. And to this day, I wish Pitt, he had licensed the IP and just kept that going, but it never did. And it's one of my favorite characters ever, was Pitt, the hybrid human alien guy that could take the Hulk on, and he's got claws, and he looks just mean, and he's like this big badass alien biker. And people are like, well, isn't that basically Lobo, which I love too? But no, he had his own thing. Lobo was Lobo, and Pitt was Pitt. And those were the days. But today, I think that the loss of humor and fun has been just thrown out the window, because the politics you put in there just leaches it, drains it out, like it sucks it out like a vampire. The fun is gone, because people just have this thing that they want to get across to you and impress upon you, and use like a sledgehammer to put it into your brain, and any sort of fun is gone out of the window. And what they think is fun just comes off as pedantic and ridiculous, and not ridiculous in a fun way, but like ridiculous in a completely stupid way. And so we got comics after comics after comics that just sound like they're talking to children. And that's fine if you're doing Richie Rich or, something like that, or, Casper the Friendly Ghost and all those Harvey comics. But we're not. You're trying to speak to an audience with the money that's older, who's grown up with these things, and they want to, to eat it up with an adult theme, but also not be told what to do, because we're adults. We know who we are by now. And if you tell a good story, this is what I used to say about the problem with the prequels in Star Wars. They were pandering to young kids. If they told a story that tried to cut a broad demographic for adults as well as children, like those old Warner and MGM cartoons, that would have cut it just what you needed to do. It would have entertained, but you would have been able to tell a story that engaged everyone. Whereas the prequels, it just got kind of loosey-goosey. It just didn't have the cohesion that it needed to have with a story structure that the first films did. Going back to comics, that's the same thing. I'm telling you, what we're going to put together is not for everybody. It's not going to be for children. It's going to be gritty, it's going to be hard, and it's going to be for mature audiences. But when you read it, you're going to have fun, it's going to be cathartic, you're going to have this, I say, visceral reaction to what we do. And you're going to want some more. I promise you, you're going to want some more, because we have a good idea, and we have great visuals and good stuff. Please stay with us. Please look for Little Girl Lethal and the Lost Peaks universe in the future, because it's coming at you soon, and it's coming at you hard. Have a great day. Bye-bye.